Hi, I'm Jen Moulton, a ranger teacher with the White Mountain National Forest. There are over 1,200 miles of hiking trails in the White Mountains. Can you guess how many of these miles are part of the famous Appalachian Trail that runs from Georgia to Maine? Is it 57, 161, 308, or 415? More about the Appalachian Trail and the answer coming up. The Appalachian National Scenic Trail, known as the AT, is a unit of the National Park Service and is one of the longest hiking trails in the world. Conceived in 1921 and completed in 1937, the trail spans approximately 2,175 miles along the Appalachian Mountain Range, passing through 14 different states on its way from Springer Mountain, Georgia to Mount Katahdin, Maine. The AT is managed under a unique partnership between the public and private sectors that includes the lead agency, the National Park Service, as well as the USDA Forest Service, an array of state agencies, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, and 31 local trail maintaining clubs. The trail is enjoyed by an estimated 4 million people each year and is within a day's drive of 2/3 of the U.S. population. People of all ages and abilities enjoy short walks, day hikes, and long-distance backpacking journeys known as through hikes. It offers a variety of opportunities for viewing spectacular scenery, for exploring, for adventure, for exercise, for nature study, and for renewal. Now the answer to our trivia question. How many miles of the AT are in New Hampshire? Approximately 161. Although a few states have more miles, New Hampshire's section of the AT is often considered the most challenging, climbing over many mountains over 4,000 feet, including the peaks of the Presidential Range, which rise as high as 6,288-foot Mount Washington. Here in New Hampshire, the Appalachian Trail is recognized as an important asset, not only for recreation, but as an educational tool. A Trail to Every Classroom is a place-based teacher training series connecting youth and communities along the 2,175-mile corridor of the Appalachian Trail. Teachers, like me, who participate in TEC, develop Appalachian Trail-based curriculum which utilizes the local landscape and may include taking students out directly on the AT. Curriculum integrate hands-on study of the natural and cultural resources of communities from Georgia to Maine, covering ecology, sense of place, recreation, volunteerism, and civics. Thanks for visiting the White Mountain National Forest. We hope you enjoy your stay and have a chance to discover the Appalachian Trail.
Hi, my name is Stacy Clark and I'm a research forester with the U.S. Forest Service, and we're in western North Carolina on the Nantahala National Forest, and we're out here studying American chestnut. American chestnut was pretty much killed off by an exotic pest from Asia called the chestnut blight, and the American Chestnut Foundation has developed some trees in the hopes that they will be resistant to the blight. So we've planted some of those trees out here and we're out here measuring it. These trees were planted in 2011. They're in their 8th growing season, and we're out here measuring the height and looking at if they have blight or not. This tree right here is about 30 feet tall or 9 meters tall, and there's no blight on it currently yet. And then this tree here is not one that we planted. It's actually a chestnut sprout that is a native chestnut sprout from a stump, and it has the blight on it, and you can see the fruiting bodies, the orange fruiting bodies on the stem. That's the chestnut blight, and it'll eventually kill this tree. So we're hoping that these planted trees will be resistant, and eventually we'll be able to restore the American chestnut back to the eastern hardwood forest.
In the Central Appalachians here in West Virginia, 150 years ago, there was well over 1 million acres of what we call spruce influence forest. And in other words, it had enough red spruce in the overstory that it drove the ecological processes both above ground and below ground. The biodiversity in the spruce ecosystem is phenomenal because it combines both northern flora and southern flora. And so there's a lot more species that occur in the high elevations of the red spruce in the Central Appalachians than anywhere else.
In this area, we've had a tremendous amount of human impacts. This is the top of Cheat Mountain. We've had a lot of mining in this area. We've had 150 million board feet off of this area prior to it becoming Forest Service ground. And so we have spent the last few years trying to figure out how to get this area functioning again, ecologically functioning. It is a key area with important resources south and very important resources north, and this is in the center. So as species move north and south with climate change, and as they move from low elevation to high elevation, this turns into a very, very, very key area.
We really do start from the landscape scale perspective when we were planning out all of these restoration activities in the red spruce ecosystem.
Right now, the landscape is a practically impermeable surface, and the deep ripping or the mechanical disturbance that they're doing is creating gaps so that water can percolate down into the soils, and the soils would be able to hold that moisture for a longer amount of time, allowing native species to become established there.
We come in and we rip the area. We'll push down any trees that are non-native. We'll rip the area in a cross rip and make sure that we actually have soils that can actually build. And to have them build, we can't have them so compacted. At the same time, we've been coming in with our watershed specialists and putting in wetlands. We want to try to get it as natural as possible to where we can get water to actually sit and stay in the watershed. Then what we do is we let it rest over the winter, and in the spring, the prime time for planting, we're going to go out and we put in native plants. Now what we've done is we've now brought in our help from NIACS and our scientists for climate change to say, what can we do better?
The Lambert Restoration Project is a smaller part of this multi-ownership project, and we use the adaptation workbook on a small part of that project to consider how climate change might impact the forests and ecosystems of that region, and to determine actions that we might be able to take to help meet restoration goals.
We did discover that there is probably some benefit in hedging our bets and including some of the northern hardwood species in our plantings up here. We are continuing to do that based on some of the outcomes of the adaptation workbook process. We focused a lot on the watershed benefits of this work when we were running through the adaptation workbook. We looked at the capability of this restoration to encourage more infiltration of the water into the landscape and releasing that water slowly into the headwaters as opposed to rapid runoff.
Red spruce in this area are never going to be back to the original extent. Climate change has just prevented that. We know climate's changing, we know it's getting warmer, we know that we're getting more violent storm events. All of those things play into us getting this area restored as soon as possible and jump-starting the ecosystem with getting more spruce in now. And if we could do that, I think we're going to have long-lasting pockets in here that help these species that depend on the spruce, that depend on the high elevations being cooler, and most importantly, it absorbs carbon into the soil underneath these spruce.
There's a lot of carbon tied up here in this deep organic surface, and we actually want to encourage that. And that's part of the goal of the red spruce restoration. We want to take these soils that have lost this protective cover of this organic mat and restore that.
We're doing a lot of activity out here right now, but that's just the beginning of the restoration process. The rest of it is the stand back and watch for 40 years process. While that ecosystem is developing, we're providing different types of habitat all along the way.
And I think that this project only works because our partners have helped us. I think the best piece of this is that we actually have people working together to the right solution, and everybody's agreeing with that. We don't have any fighting on the issues. We have a lot of support. And over the next 60, 80 years, this restoration is actually going to make a difference. I feel like we're going to sit in a forest here that actually is building soil, it's absorbing carbon, and it's moving in the right direction with succession.